All right, another episode of a Hunter's Life podcast. Joined with Jeremy Ballantine, who is on an absolute tear from East Coast to West. He started off in September, killed a nice little bull elk with his bow, took that broadhead, sharpened it up, killed a giant bull moose in the archery season in E2 in Vermont, took that broadhead out of the bull, resharpened it, and now he's going to be headed to New Jersey and then hunting the rut in Massachusetts. He's shaping up to have a pretty stellar year as far as archery goes, and that's not even including the tracking and gun season. So we talk about the elk hunt, we talk about the moose hunt, his early days of guiding, how he got into it, and this is the second time he's drawn that archery tag. He killed a good bull the first year, but yeah, all kinds of good stories coming out of this one. A new video is up on YouTube. Not technically week 3, but the third week of footage I've edited. I had a whole bunch of shenanigans going on. I thought I ran my bow over. Ended up making a small adjustment to my scope on my deer rifle, so I got that dialed back in and only took 4 shots. Really only took 3. I just confirmed it with a 4th. Forgot my saddle on one hunt, left it in the truck. Forgot to put it around my waist, and ended up kind of getting busted on the ground. Hunted in sweatpants one night because I forgot my wool pants. Yeah, getting excited for the upcoming weeks. Pre-rut activities going on right now. Scrapes are starting to open up. Getting some daylight pictures and videos of bucks, and should be shaping up to be good. 4-day muzzleloader season in Vermont. It's a doe only season, so hopefully to fill my doe tag with that. And then next weekend we got the opener of New Hampshire muzzleloader. So from then on out, I'll only be hunting with a bow in Mass, so it'll be nice to get the gun out, maybe do some walking around, still hunting. Be a nice change of pace. Yep, that'll do it for me for the intro here, and enjoy this pod with Jeremy Ballantine. All right, we're rolling. Jeremy, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, man, it's been one hell of a fall so far.
Yeah, you're killing it, literally.
Starting out in September, doing some public land elk hunting. Shot a young bull out there, but it was a fun trip. And then drew that once in a lifetime moose tag again, and we did really good with that. I can't wait to see when we get all the footage together. It's going to be awesome. Put a lot of time in scouting, and it's really funny how it all worked out with that moose, because that happened to be the first big bull that I ever found when I first started going up to the Northeast Kingdom guiding. Like 3 years ago, I started guiding up there. Still getting phone calls because I've been guiding in southern Vermont for over 20 years, and we haven't had a southern season in 4 or 5 years now, 6 years now probably. They've shut the southern season down, and they just have a northern season. So I figured I'd start guiding again, and I got some phone calls. So I went up there to do some scouting. I had a gun tag client that year, no boat, no archery hunter. But I went up just before the archery archery season, so I could do some scouting. And that was one spot that I had on a map that I really liked. Walked in there, hung some cameras, heard bulls grunting and everything, and just left the cameras up. Well, that was the biggest bull in there, and he had big holes in his left palm from fighting other bulls, I'm assuming. And so we always nicknamed him the hole in the horn bull, and that's what that spot was always called. And the next year, same thing. He was in there during the rut, but he was always gone for gun season. So during the rut, he was in there running amok, chasing cows around, but then he's gone. And I could never figure out where he went post-rut. And I never had an archery client to go in there and hunt him. And this year we had some other bulls that were bigger than him located, and I hadn't got any pictures of him leading up to the season. It was kind of weird. He just kind of rolled in there right during the season, I think. And we got up in there and hunted those bigger bulls that first day and a half, and the weather was just terrible. It was, high 70s during the day, and we didn't have rain or wind, but it was just so warm. They were just moving the first bit of the day and in the afternoons. But we went in there to check cameras, kind of just on a scouting mission, just to see what was going on, because I don't have much service out there, so I couldn't have any cell cameras. I had one cell camera in there, but it's pretty easy to have a moose get by a camera. But we went in there to check cameras and just see what was in there, and man, there was tons of fresh sign, and he was on a regular camera, daylight, running by it, and we're just like, man, that's a beautiful bull. We didn't really even recognize him at that point, and then we moved in there, and just as luck would have it, I'm walking up into where I knew they bedded in this one strip of kind of like mature woods in between some cuts. And man, we just walked right in between him and his cow, and it just, you were there, man. It just worked out phenomenal. As far as we were right in between him and the cow, and we just challenged him, and he got up out of his bed and walked, and ended up walking into us and giving us a shot. It was awesome.
He's like, come on, man, it's too hot for this.
Yeah, it was. It was way too hot. I mean, when it's hot enough so you're running the air conditioner driving to moose hunting spots, it's pretty warm.
Yeah, I wore my sandals out on a few camera checks there.
It's crazy. It was just, but you have to deal with the hand you're dealt in those 7 days. It's rough, It's like a once-in-a-lifetime tag, and they give you 7 days to get it done.
Yep. And the week before was great, and the week after was great.
Week after was even better. Cold. It was a lot colder. I think if we'd have been able to hunt the week before, we'd have killed that really big one we had pictures of. He was in there chasing cows around, and I think the timing was by the time we got in there, he'd just bred all the cows that were in that area, and he was gone. We still haven't been able to get a picture of him, know where he is, and he's MIA right now. No idea where that bull went.
We found his bedroom, potentially.
Oh, man. Yeah. The week before, we could have killed him.
That rub was right there. About 8 feet in the air.
Yeah. And that was on a beach. Yeah, he went to a beech tree that was 5-6 inches in diameter and just tore that thing apart. And then there was a big, heavy branch coming off of it, like 8 feet in the air, and he mauled that branch. And
yeah, the picture I took, I don't know if I ever sent it to you, but it's you and Nick standing there, and Nick's 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's 1.5 feet over his head.
Yeah.
And it just gives you an idea how big those animals are.
He was a monster. He was crazy. We're going back up there to guide this gun season, so I mean we may get a client on him, we may shoot him, but probably not. Probably not. They're
hate to be optimistic, but probably not.
No, I mean they're tough to kill post rut. They really are. They've become a ghost, and they've had a really stressful rut, and they are in full recovery mode. They just stopped doing almost everything. They're just eating and sleeping, and doing a lot more sleeping than anything, I think, and they're just not moving. Even with snow on the ground, I bet you would notice they're not moving more than a football field. They're just not going anywhere. All my cameras up there are dead right now. There's no moose moving around except cows. So we'll see what it's like. It's just a matter of finding out where they're holed up, where the post rut is just so much different than the rut. It's crazy. They just rut so hard, they're just beat by the end of it.
Yeah.
Beat up.
Yeah, you could see it in some of that footage you guys got, how they're just so testosterone driven that they're completely stupid.
Yeah. They're just
they don't even they
see
that antler and they're like, that's a moose for sure, and then you put it down, they look at you like, oh.
Yeah.
You put it back up and it's right back to
angry,
rage mode.
like you can see the red in his eyes.
It's crazy.
They just they have a different mentality, They just don't have any natural predators.
They got to be like physically worn down, but it's also going to take a mental toll on them. Just being that
they're just
that anger is stress.
They're beat up. Yeah, their rut is very short. It's a very short window. Also, you got to figure those deer are rutting pretty good from November. You'll have some does that come into heat at the very beginning of November, and then you have some coming in all the way late November. So the rut's kind of spread out in Northeast. Even though it should be in a smaller window, the more north you go for fawn survival rate and, optimum time for fawns being born. But I think all those cows, they come into heat very close to the same time. And there's enough bulls around to do it. But, man, there's serious competition and fighting, and it's intense. And it's a lot shorter of a window. So I think that's what makes the rut way more intense. And those moose just get beat up. And when they go into post-rut, they're just all by themselves, sitting somewhere on a side hill, just trying to recover. just trying to find some little pocket to lay in that's got food, water, and cover, and it's pretty cool to see what they do. And they survive a long time. I mean, some of them bulls that we're hunting are 10, 12, 13 years old,
Yeah.
They've been around. They've played the game a lot, and it's pretty cool how you can survive that long with that many hunters after you and that big of a set of antlers on your head. It's crazy. So they're cool.
Yeah,
it was really neat to draw the tag.
Even just moving through terrain, 50-plus inch bull.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Some woods, you just like,
Yeah.
tilt their head and smash through stuff.
Yep.
But it was cool that, it was one you had history with.
Yeah. And one of Nick's buddies has a shed off of him.
Yep.
That's right. That first year that I had a picture of him. Not the side with the hole in it, but his right side. They found that shed, I don't know, 3-4 miles away from there. And he could see, it was on a day when there was fresh snow on, and they could see where some bulls were sparring in a log road. And one of the antlers was just laying off the log road. They think that he dropped that side with the hole in it. They think he dropped it right in the road. And there were snowmobile tracks there and stuff, so someone on a snowmobile probably scored that one right in the road. But they've got the right side, and I guess that guy's going to give me that shed, and that'll be pretty cool to go with that bull.
Yeah.
So, but it's of all the moose that I ended up shooting, it's just funny to shoot the one that I have the most history with. That was pretty cool.
Somewhere where you don't normally guide.
Yeah, 2.5 miles north of my house, So, pretty cool that he made it all the way through that, and we got one shed off of him. We got a really cool story. We put it all together, I think. But it was they're fun. I mean, that was a good last moose hunt for me. I'm not going to jinx myself, but the chances of me drawing a New Hampshire or a Maine tag have been pretty slim. I mean, I've been applying for those for 20 years, so we'll see though.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
I need to start applying.
Oh, 100%.
Hire you.
Yeah. You got to get drawn. It's an unbelievable hunt. They don't have a good rut hunt in New Hampshire.
No.
Like we do for Vermont, but
maybe that'll change.
Maine you do. Maine you get a September hunt. That'll be fun.
It's a gun hunt too.
Yep. And it's fun just to go out and call them too. I mean, when we got back from that moose hunt, that's the first thing that I did once I got the meat and everything all in a locker and taken care of, everything cold, and I got right back out with the video camera. 2 or 3 days later, after I did all my laundry and everything, I was like, I got to go mess with some moose down south. So I went to some of the spots that I haven't guided in since we had a southern season, so 5-6 years. And man, the moose are coming back down south. I walked into that one spot, and it was just freighted with sign and trees all racked up and rut pits everywhere and just tracks everywhere, and I couldn't get an answer there. And I'm like, man, there's so much sign. What's going on? And I could hear way up the hill past my truck, I could hear a cow bawling up on that mountain. So I was like, that's where everything's going on right there. So I just packed the camera up and ran up the hill and cut way up around, got the wind right. And man, I walked in there and there were 3 or 4 bulls chasing a cow around. And one of them was like of epic proportions. He was huge. He was 55 plus. He was huge. So it's pretty cool. Now I got some bulls to go find their sheds and stuff. But those bulls up north, there's a lot. The moose are really healthy. We didn't see any moose that were loaded with ticks, and
yeah, they only found what, like 5 on yours?
Yeah, he was pretty clean. He was as healthy as can be, and he was 875 pounds. So he was a big moose, healthy, and he's old. He's probably 10 years old, anyhow. So it's really cool. I think the moose are doing really good, and they're going to cut another 4,000 acres in the national forest down south here. So when they do that, the moose population is going to explode again.
Excited for that. The deer too.
Everything.
All the wildlife.
Yeah, it's going to bring that whole national forest back. It's kind of a vacant wasteland. Once we get 10 inches of snow on the ground, everything leaves.
Yeah.
Because there's no food.
No. It's just miles and miles of moose maple.
All old growth timber and
whipping you in the face.
Yellow birch and soft maple, seems like. So
yep.
They start cutting it. It'll be great.
So let's go back. I want to talk because you've been guiding for a long time. So how did you get into it? Why did you get into it? What was the moose herd in southern Vermont? And yeah, just kind of bring us back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez, that starts like when I was probably in my teens. It was always really cool to hear about who drew a moose tag because they were giving so few out at that time, you know. And I always wanted to call them in. I always watched those videos of people calling in moose, and it always fascinated me. And then they finally opened up a southern Vermont season, and I started going out and calling in the end of September because that's when I first started elk hunting too. And I'm like, man, I got to find something that's like elk, and moose are it. We started having more and more moose down south, and then we got a really good population of them down south. And I was going out calling them in September and stuff, starting to get the hang of how to call them in. And I hadn't guided anybody at that point. I didn't even know anyone that had drawn a tag. And at the time, on the weekends, I was working at this one bar doing security at the door. And there was this one kid from Pennsylvania, and he'd moved into my town. And he's like, man, I heard you can hunt moose in this state. I'm like, yeah, you got to apply for these zones. I gave him the 2 zones that were down south. I'm like, yeah, you never know. Someone's got to get drawn, you know. And he lived in Vermont just long enough to claim residency. So it gave him a little bit of an advantage in the draw. But I mean, everyone I know had been applying and not getting drawn. And
Yep.
he draws the first year. He, the moose draw came out, and then next thing I know, he's calling my phone. He's like, man, I got a tag for zone P. I'm like, what?
Like what?
Oh, man. He just, okay, well, cool. Well, let's do this. So that was like my first official really like guide, client, really. And we killed a monster. I mean, I did a lot of scouting, and we killed a giant. He was 54, 55 inches wide, but he had tremendous palms, big fronts, big long palms. I mean, the bull was probably right at Boone and Crockett. He was huge. And he was almost 900 pounds dressed. He was really huge. But that video is one of my first moose videos ever on YouTube. And that bull comes walking right in broadside at 20 yards, and him and the sub permit, he dumped him right there. It was pouring rain. It was a wild video. So then that was getting to know the guys with the horses and dragging the moose out. And it's like after that one hunt, I was like, I'm doing this every year. So that's when I started really promoting it on YouTube. I was videoing all my clients whenever I would take them out hunting, and those videos really opened up a lot of doors for guiding, because whenever the moose draw would come out, as the years went on, they gave out more and more tags, and my name kind of got out there more and more about, shooting good bulls down south, and then everybody could go onto YouTube and see the videos.
Right.
And once people were seeing the videos, it was like someone would draw a tag. The first thing they do is go onto YouTube and type in, Vermont moose. And my videos were the only ones coming up.
Yep.
So everyone was calling me, and they were just like, man, I want to see the horse drag one out. I want to see one get called in. I'm like, well, it's still hunting, hopefully that's how it all goes. But man, in down south, it was 16, 17 years or whatever, I was at 100% shot opportunity with moose clients in all those years. And then, then we had the archery season thrown in there. That added another element to it. But man, every archery client that I had got a shot at a bull or killed one, which was, just kept I was at 100% shot opportunity, which was really good. But there was a lot of scouting involved, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It wasn't just going out and finding a moose. It was extreme amount of scouting going into finding all those moose. And that was when I drew my first archery tag. Was the first archery season they ever had in Vermont. I drew the first year they ever had it. And of course did a lot of scouting. I had one bull located that was probably in the lower 60s. I mean, he was enormous, and just couldn't catch up with him in that time frame. Never knew where he went. Same thing. I think if I could have hunted him a week earlier than the season, I would have killed him, because he was right in there with a cow. I went in there to check a camera, and I saw him. He was huge. It was a good time. But I mean, we had driving rain. That was a good example of, I wanted to get my hunt on video, that first archery hunt that I had. And I had a buddy running the camera, and then I had my father with me. and every day it was just driving rain, like pouring torrential rain the first 4 days of the 7-day season. So I was getting nervous by day 4 that every day was just pouring rain. Pretty depressing. Can't really video anything. I mean, my buddy was scared he was going to screw up the video camera trying to take that out in the pouring rain. And then you add into shooting one with a bow in pouring rain. You know, your blood trail is going to be garbage, you know. But luckily that first, you know, that 4th day, the rain let up midday, and it was an awesome afternoon. Started to cool down. I think we got a frost that night. But went into a spot where I'd been scouting, and man, there was just fresh sign everywhere. You could see where that bull had been in there making rubs and everything that morning, right in the pouring rain. I was like, he's right here. So we just chilled out until the thermal started dropping back down the hill, and everything was calmed right down. It got dead still that night. And I called, and that bull was just bedded 300-400 yards away. I could hear him get up out of his bed and march right in. That was a 52-incher. And that hunt's on YouTube. That was pretty cool. That was a great bull. So that was the first archery season they ever had. And I ended up drawing a tag and then shooting a great bull. So that video alone really helped. You know, I had archery clients every year after that. And some of them were even the auction guys that always made me nervous, because I had, you know, guiding a person that had spent $7,000-8,000 on the tag. You know, it's,
yeah,
like,
a little more
pressure. A lot of pressure. It's like, man, this guy's got some money invested in. I mean, to me, that's a ton of money to invest in a tag. And but it all worked out. I mean, we had some great hunts. I had one guy from Connecticut shot a bull at like 6 yards, and the bull ran by me so close.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It ran by me so close, I ducked. I didn't have to duck, but I mean, the antler seemed like it was going to hit me in the head when it ran by, and I could step right onto the blood trail from the camera tripod. It was just wild. Moose hunting has brought me a lot of good experiences, a lot of good memories. It's they're such an awesome animal. It's probably the most exciting thing to hunt in Vermont. Definitely is. But it's just such a short season. You know, call anything that you can call in. You know, turkeys, and that's why I love elk hunting. It's you're back and forth. You know, anything you can communicate with, it's just so exciting. And those moose are just huge, and they're so exotic to some people. You got some people that have lived in the state their whole lives, and they've maybe only seen 2 or 3 moose just crossing the road, you know, but we see half a dozen to 20 or so a year when we're hunting them, you know, but we're putting in the effort. A lot of people don't think there's a lot of moose around. That's just because you're not seeing them near the roads. They're there, but they act the way they should right now. They're smart. They're just like a big, you know, they don't get old like that by being stupid. So, and there's a lot of scouting involved in killing a moose. Wait, you know, 90% scouting, 10% hunting. It's even more than deer.
And with that short season, you got to just play the cards you were dealt. You know, like you said, it was.
You can't pick and choose your days.
You get it done the second day.
Yeah.
But it was not looking good until Saturday, really.
Yeah.
And then that was calling for rain.
Yep.
But
yeah, no, you have to. You have to hunt.
Week.
You just have to hunt the weather you're given, and that was another thing. Is like down south here, we don't have the habitat that they have up north. Like up north, there's really good moose habitat everywhere. So you can kind of keep hopping around and go from spot to spot and try to find that bull. Down south, it was like all our spots are kind of spread out where there's old clear cuts, or there's good habitat for moose to hang out, or there's a couple cows that might hang out here or there, but they're really spread out. And it's almost like you got to, hopefully you can catch him in one of those spots in those 7 days during that rut. When he's running rampant, you know, he's running around. It's just in those 7 days, sometimes we haven't been able to catch up with a certain bull, but we have, you know, other bulls that we have on the radar that we're hunting or whatever. But it's not a lot of time for it to come together. I really wish they would do something different with the moose season. Give the guys, you know, 2 weeks would be awesome. Give less tags, but let someone hunt for 2 weeks if they want to. Because then if you get that really terrible weather, you don't have as many moose spoiling either, because you got guys that are panicked. They're still going to hunt. It's a tag of a lifetime. And it's 75, 80 degrees. It's like you have to scramble so you don't lose any meat.
Yeah.
And if you knew you had 2 weeks, you can look at the next week. Oh, the next week's going to be, high, high 30s at night, and it's going to be a high of 50 during the day. Like, that's the week to hunt. We're just going to wait a few more days, because you shoot one in a really bad spot, it could spoil before you get it out.
Yeah.
Even the horse guy was saying that after he dragged mine out. It was so hot by that point. He's like, man, I hope no one else shoots one today, because it's so damn hot. It's hard on the horses.
It was 75 plus by the time we hit that road.
Yeah.
And that was at what? 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
11 a.m.?
That was early. Yeah. Yeah, that's why we went in so early to get everything out of there, because it was like you got to scramble. You got to get that horse guy there, and other than that, you're packing him, and it's a lot of that's a lot of meat to pack out. Well, it's you're at the mercy of the weather. Those years when you wake up and it's a nice cold, everything's frosted, man, that's a killing day. It's like those moose love moving when it's that cold.
It's a shame they couldn't, it would screw everybody's plans up, but almost change it on the fly.
Yeah.
Change the week.
Yeah. Oh, it would screw everybody's vacation times up, and people are renting camps and stuff for moose season. And
it would screw everything up.
People are taking time off of work and stuff. It's just, but it's a rare tag. It's some people have just gotten really the raw end of the deal with the weather, and then never get another tag. That was their opportunity, and they got dealt a terrible hand with weather. But that's where scouting really comes in. If you got a lot of good areas scouted and you can still hop around, those moose are still there. It's just they're not moving as much, And take advantage of your early mornings.
Yep.
Make sure you hunt really hard right at first light, and then that last 2 or 3 hours of daylight. They're still in the rut during the archery season, so they're still going to act. They're still going to act ruddy. They're just not moving as much as normal.
Yeah, there's no sense in killing yourself. Stay in the woods all day, hike all day.
Not in that way.
Go out, go back to camp, wherever you're staying.
Yeah.
Get a bite to eat, sit down, relax, and then go out in the evening.
Yeah, because you only need it to come together once. You're just gonna,
if you pound ground all day, you're just gonna push the moose around, educate them, maybe push them out of the area. If you left, and then came back in the evening, they'd still be laying up there, and you might have a chance.
100%. Yep. No, that's
hunt smarter,
you
not
gotta,
harder.
You got to hunt them smart. You've put so much time into scouting them. It would be foolish just to hunt, in mediocre to terrible conditions.
Be the hardcore guy.
To say you're hunting.
I did 10 miles today. How many moose did you spook?
It's tough, and it's thick. And during the archery season, all the leaves are still on. You can't really see that good. And you really need that moose to respond to the call to get a good opportunity at him. During the gun season, you got a rifle in your hands, so stuff doesn't have to happen quite as perfect for there to end up being a dead moose. But the archery season is definitely fun calling them, because I've called them in during the gun season up there as well. They're just nowhere near as responsive. They won't come as far. They don't get as fired up. But I've had a lot of them come in silent to the call during the gun season. A bull isn't going to just stand there and listen to a cow moan and not go over there and check it out. He's going to still do it most likely. The older ones may not be quite as apt to, but if you get inside their bubble, you're within 150, 200 yards of them. It's just like a big gobbler. You get inside that 100-yard mark, they act totally different to a call than when they're hearing it at 200.
Yeah.
So as the season gets later, you just got to get closer and just get a little tighter.
Yeah, try to get the wind right and just be more patient. If you don't hear a response, you just got to kind of wait it out.
Yep. And during that late season, like this year, it's supposed to rain, torrential downpour Saturday, the first day of the season.
Yeah.
And into Sunday, I guess. So it's youth season for deer also. The kids are going to have a terrible weekend to hunt. But that wet weather, moose love moving around in it because it's cold. It's cooler or whatever. But you can track those moose like there's snow on the ground when everything is soaking wet and the leaves are really wet. That's another tactic for post-rut is we'll get into where those moose are. If I can find a big bull track, we can follow him wherever he goes. I mean, we followed him for over a mile on bare ground because they're so heavy, you know.
Yep.
And it's the first time you get in that wet weather, you know, it's just like a new canvas out there. You can see exactly where that moose is walking. I've killed several bulls tracking them with clients during the gun season. And if you get into a spot where you think he might be bedded up, you know, you can call for a little bit. He doesn't come in. You can track him a little bit further. Oh, he might be bedded right up in here. Sometimes you can call, and he'll get up out of his bed and walk right into you. So it's with the aid of being able to follow him on that wet conditions, we should be able to make something happen, whether they want to be responsive to the call or not. So,
or at least, nonetheless, find one.
Figure out where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you find that smoking fresh sign. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a matter of getting, because they're not going to be moving far. They never are. And it seems like the post rut is a lot harder. It's a lot harsher up there than it is down south. And I think that's just due to moose density. Down south here, there's not the moose density that there is up north. So I think our rut down in the southern part of the state is stretched out much further than it is up north. So, you know, I've been deer hunting before in November and seen a bull moose. Cow called to him and had him come running to me. It's like he's still like, oh, there's still a cow in heat?
Yep.
And not passing it up. He's going to come over and check it out. So the rut is a lot. That was the other advantage of down south is I had better luck calling bulls in during the rifle season than people were up north. Because their rut is definitely over up north. That's one thing I've noticed.
Yep.
The post rut's just a lot harder up north. Yep.
Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of a 2-day hunt. That's for sure.
It seemed like we hunted way more than that, though.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it seemed like we were up there like 4 or 5 days.
Well, you guys were since Thursday?
Yeah, we'd been up there scouting and messing around with some moose in New Hampshire a little bit. Just getting some good footage and some good pictures. And
for the record, if people don't know, New Hampshire season is like late October. So
same time as ours. I think it opens this weekend.
Yeah, calling in moose in September is not affecting their hunt at all.
No. No.
And they draw like
40 some odd tags.
Yeah,
like
it's
hardly
real
any.
low.
Yeah, wicked low. And Nick was guiding in Maine for a couple seasons, so he was already up there. So we kind of messed around in Maine a little bit and New Hampshire and got primed up for the whole Vermont thing, and it was a good time. That was a good bull to end it on. He's 52 inches, really nice dark chocolate antlers. I couldn't ask for a better bull. It's a good one.
Yep, so, not the way you drew it up on the X's and O's, but
no, the shot kind of went haywire on me there a little bit. Yeah,
but that's the beauty of. I'm not saying everybody should film their hunt, but without that footage,
yeah,
we wouldn't have known, because me and you both thought you buried that arrow to the fletch.
Yeah, and we didn't know that I hit a limb either.
Yeah, without that footage.
Yeah, without that footage, it was. But that also let us know. It's like, all right, he's right there dead. It's just you shoot them in the top of the lungs, and they
that arrow is still in there, so it's still
that iron
when he
will
walks.
Broadhead.
It's
yeah. It was. We'll explain it in the video. We'll go over the whole shot sequence and how it all transpired and everything. It was pretty cool. But
I was amazed at pulling that iron will out of bone, and I was still scared to touch it.
Oh yeah,
I ran my finger across the edge of it, and it was still scary sharp. And I think Nick looked at the point, and it folded over just a little whisker.
Yeah,
something you could have filed right off, and that thing could have killed another moose.
Oh, and it was still super sharp. Everything was even
sharp.
It wasn't like folded over. It was just kind of. It wasn't quite as pointed as it used to be. It took off just a little bit of the point, but.
Right, something you could reshape. You don't even have to.
Oh yeah, no,
But they get a lifetime warranty anyways.
Yeah, I took that thing to the Diamond Stone, the other night, and it's as good as new. It's back in my quiver. It was the same broadhead I shot my elk with, so I've got that.
So
as
now
that's my number one arrow. Is I've shot my elk with that broadhead, and I shot that moose with it, and now it's ready to go on the next deer or bear.
Yeah. So cool. people who say, because I'm I'm making the switch after seeing. I've done a ton of research on Iron Will, and I have their components and field tips, but seeing that, and it's like, yes, they're expensive, but
you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And the proof is in the pudding. I mean,
for big animals like that too. I mean, that elk that I shot.
I don't care if it's a doe. I mean, you're going to be able to shoot.
It's ridiculous.
30 doe with that thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
You know?
How sharp it is.
Depending
how
on
durable it is. Yeah. That head is bulletproof.
I mean, they're hardened steel.
I mean, I called in a great bull elk from my buddy one year in Colorado, and that thing was covered in mud in their mane and everything. So, I mean, you got a picture of an elk with all that long hair on them, and they're plastered in mud. He came in frontal at like 15, 18 yards, and he buried it. The arrow went right out of sight, right in that thoracic opening in the front of the chest, right at the point of the mane. And that arrow went plunk right out of sight, and it lodged in the hind quarter of that elk. It went all the way through stem to stern on that bull. And when we broke him all down, we break the whole elk down without gutting him. Then when the whole carcass is just sitting there, then I was able to get in there and grab that arrow and pull it out. And it was lodged right in the hip bone. And same thing, that broadhead, you couldn't touch it. It was still super sharp, and that had gone stem to stern through a bull elk. All the way, took out arteries over the top of the heart, across the diaphragm, you're talking liver, all the way through the stomach, whatever those contents are, the intestines, all the way back and lodged into the hip bone. That elk was dead in like 10 seconds. He didn't go anywhere. He went 15 feet, stood there and bled out and died in no time. So it cut a lot of stuff, way more than it normally would if you were just shooting in broadside. And it was still razor sharp. I mean, sharper than most broadheads out of the package still. It was crazy. It's just such good, high quality steel. It's awesome.
And that's not out of the package. You obviously.
Yeah, I touch them up a little bit. They're super sharp right out of the package, but you got a little chunk of the ideal thing to use. I got a Stay Sharp system, and you take a chunk of like a cereal box or something, put some buffing compound on it, and you can just strop that blade on that and have it like a mirror finish. And it makes a world of difference. You put some mineral oil on the broadhead and everything, so all the edges don't rust. Everything stays pristine in that quiver. It's past surgical sharpness when you shoot something with it. And it just maintains it all the way
Yeah,
through.
they're like, you want to, when you pull it out of your quiver, you want to like,
it's scary.
Be careful.
It's scary sharp. And I mean, for instance, just look at the bull that I shot this year, that moose. I mean, there was blood immediately where he was standing. And there was blood all over the place.
Took us a bit to find it, but once we found which tracks were his, it's like,
it was
yep,
all
right there.
over the place. You know, it's just, I mean, that's what you need. That's what cuts as many arteries and little veins, and it cuts anything that it touches, and it severs it super clean. And the cleaner that you cut those arteries and everything, it's a lot harder for it to clot back up. It's going to bleed really good. That's why you cut your finger with a razor blade, it bleeds. It's hard to get it to stop because you get no surface area. But it's all those little details come together, man, and that's you end up with a successful hunt. Those moose, they're pretty special. Now I'm going back to guiding. It looks like this was my last tag in Vermont, so 3 more years until I can even apply anymore. But
so when you kind of found out indirectly you drew it because were you out of service? You were just working, and
I was just working.
Your phone started blowing up with text messages.
Yeah, because I knew it was the day that they were going to be drawing it. So normally I just check my phone like 10:30, 11 o'clock or whatever, and I see how many people, if anyone's called me for guiding. I didn't think in a million years I was going to draw a tag. But I looked at my phone, and I could see it was lit up on the counter over there. So I'm like, I'm installing a kitchen, so I'm not running a lot of saws or anything like that. So I walked over there to look at the phone, and I could see it was just top to bottom, it was just full of text messages. I was just like, why is everybody texting me? And I looked, and everyone's just like, you lucky bastard. You drew one. You got an archery tag. I'm like, what? No way. I didn't believe it. I'm like, what? It took a while. It took all day for it to finally hit me. That I was like, holy shit, I'm going to be bow hunting moose this fall. That was cool. So I went right onto the Fish and Game website. And I'm like, yep, there it is. Yeah. I drew an E2 archery. That's pretty wild. So
Now, is it excitement or nerves?
both.
Because
It's just the pressure's on.
There's a lot of pressure on that tag because it's so rare.
It's so
Unless
rare.
you want to spend 10 G's or whatever and buy one.
I think it's even more than that.
Yeah.
I think the auction
I don't
tag's
know what
going
they
for.
are.
I think it's going closer to 15 now. It's crazy. No, it's just hopefully we can find a giant and hopefully we get the right weather. It's just those were the two things that were making me nervous. It was there's going to be no hunting pressure.
One.
Yeah.
There were some giants located, but the weather wasn't.
Yeah, the weather is just the thing that that's the number one thing that I fear. I'm like, we're going to do enough scouting. We're going to have some good moose found. We're going to hunt really hard. We know what we're doing. We're going to get into some moose. We're going to get an opportunity. It's just, can we get an opportunity at one of those big ones, a 50-plus incher with what we get dealt with for weather? And then throwing in the camera also, trying to get good footage and lay down a good story. And so that all started with scouting.
I did the best I could with what I was dealt.
Yeah.
Which was
it was tricky shooting in there with the
high stem count.
Tons of that.
Like 6-inch diameter trees.
It was like that bowling alley lanes.
That's open timber, so to speak, I guess. But like still for filming, like
it sucked.
You prefer the open cut,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Or have him come down a log road.
And then it happened so fast, and I was filming other stuff on the way up that I wanted autofocus on to cut in and out of focus.
Yep.
And I was just kind of playing around with stuff, like walking up in. That's why I'm always 30 yards behind you guys because I'm playing around, and then I caught up to you guys. Like Nick's like, moose right there.
Yeah.
And I'm on. I can't. It's cows, and then he's over there. And the meantime, and I finally get on. I'm like, oh, this thing's on autofocus. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It happens quick. It wasn't like the classic. Like a lot of the times we'll set up at a spot and call, so you got all the time in the world to get all set up, and we hear him grunting and stuff. We can kind of get positioned, and we're ready for him to come in. This time we moved right in there, super aggressive, and we positioned ourselves right in between him and the cow, not knowing it even. We just saw the cow up feeding, and the bull was bedded off to the right. It's just the way everything worked out. And
but you could see as we were walking up in, like, looks like moose pushing around right here. There's another track.
Yeah, I knew
and then all of a sudden.
Yeah. The sign that we were seeing, I was like, man, we're going to see one here any second. Like this is where we should have been hunting this morning. Is all I could think of,
And I mean, and the day before.
But you got a bunch of spots, It's like you got to go with the biggest one that you have found, and
because you also don't know what where other people are going to be. Granted, they didn't draw a lot of tags.
Yeah, there were eight other permit holders in that.
But still,
zone.
you got to have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like you can't be. All right, I found one big bull. That's my only plan.
Oh yeah,
that's not a good idea.
You got to have 5 or 6 of them. 5 or 6 that you really good bulls picked out that you want to kill, and then you got to have 10 or so different spots or more. The more spots, the better. It's just a lot of scouting, and 2.5, almost 3 hours for me to get up there. I got up there as much as I could. I had my rooftop tent, and I had a couple people that had camps they would let me stay at. So every weekend I had the chance. I was up there, just banging around, putting cameras out, checking different spots, and a lot of it's all early season. And then the thing I knew I had to do a lot of my scouting in August because I knew I was going to be away for 2 weeks during elk season, right during when the moose were just coming out of velvet and they're starting to make rubs and everything. That's really when you want to be doing the bulkier scouting because that's where they're going to be during the rut. And I was hunting elk, so once I got back from elk, it was a turn and burn, clean all my clothes, and head right up to scout for moose again. So
we went up that. Was it the last weekend in July or something? That first trip.
Yep. And that was just to get cameras out and try to find some velvet bulls just to get some pictures to add into the video and the story and stuff. And there's still a ton of cameras I've never checked.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could have some phenomenal videos and pictures of the bull that I killed in velvet. I don't know. There's still a bunch of cameras we haven't checked. So we just wanted to get everything out of it we could.
Yeah, we didn't make it to that one.
There were 2 more cameras to, one cell.
Were there 2 SDs?
There was
There's
one
SD,
there was one SD
cell.
and one cell.
Yeah.
But you never know if the cell's sending you all the pictures or
Right.
not, But there's a ton of cameras out. I've got at least 5 or 6 regular cameras in other spots where there's good bulls that I've never checked since I put them out in July. So we should have all sorts of really cool stuff. The moose and velvet all the way right up through rut, the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to go up there this week, probably Thursday afternoon, and I'll be up there all day Friday before the season, pulling some cameras and stuff. So then when my client kills a bull, I can just head home. I don't have to walk around and pull cameras and stuff during the moose season. I don't want to screw up anybody's hunt. So I really want to pull all those cameras before the hunt starts, ideally.
Yeah, because they've already, your homework's done.
Yeah, they're all from it. I just so happen to be guiding somebody where we archery hunted.
Yeah.
So it's the same zone. So I'll just go off of all the data that I got on those cameras and
what we saw. And
yep. It's going to be a good time. And I can't wait to check some of those cameras. It's just cool to see them in velvet. And then hopefully I got a picture of one, with velvet hanging off of its antlers.
Yep.
And it'll be cool to have a bunch of that.
some video of them.
Some really cool video and pictures. It's just cool to get some photos and videos of moose and see how many bulls there are around, really. And then go up and try to find some sheds in the spring, maybe. So it's shaping up to be a great fall. Get up there and guide those guys, and then as soon as I head back from that season, I'll be headed down to hunt that public land Jersey spot for deer. So I'm back into whitetail mode. Go down there and hunt for a week during that split season from fall bow to permit bow. Try to shoot a couple bucks and then come back home and hunt in Massachusetts and working around the edges. So, and then we're hopefully going to get some snow, and I can't wait.
I think I feel it in my bones. We're getting snow. I just hope we're not, 2018? We were just buried.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get it pocket deep when we do get snow.
For the deer's sake and for our sake.
Yeah.
They don't need to be, the fawns don't need to be wading in the snow in November.
No.
That's going to be a long winter.
No, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow, that'll be perfect. And this year is kind of, I'm kind of excited to track this year because a lot of our national forest around here there's a lot of beach ridges and everything, and that seems to be the main mast crop this year. A lot of the acorns that I'm finding, if I'm finding any, are rotten or they have that pinhole in them and they got grubs in them.
Yeah.
So it's, again, like 3 years in a row now, no good acorns.
Some I found.
They're very spotty, though.
Yeah, but when you find them, I mean, like I told you, that spot I found the other day, like
loaded.
They're still raining out of the trees.
That's awesome.
There's 9 scrapes, rubs.
That's what you're going to find.
Where bucks were pushing around. I mean, like I said, I left the woods, came back in the same way, and there was fresh poop right where I was. That wasn't there last night.
Yeah.
It's just I'm on them. Just
they're not.
I don't know the woods.
They're probably not bedding very far from it either.
No, I think I know right where they are, but
because they're probably they're hammering those as hard as they can because they're probably going to have all those acorns eaten by mid-November. They're going to eat them up quick because you got squirrels, you got everything, bears, everything in there probably eating them eventually.
The next time I go in, I'm just going to butt, if it's not blowing directly into where I think they are, I'm just going to butt right up against that, and what do I got to lose?
Yeah.
You know?
When you have limited food sources like that and you find a good oak patch, even if you do booger those deer, you give them, 4 or 5 days or whatever, you can get right back in there again.
Yep.
You might as well be aggressive if you can with the conditions. Because they're going to start acting, it's going to get into that late October where they're going to start, making scrapes and daylighting a lot more. So if you pick your day and then get in there and get aggressive, you could make it happen the first sit in there.
pretty high pressure area. I think it just maybe even just going a little further in because I hunted right at the edge when I first found it because it was blowing up right as soon as I got in the woods. Like, wow, well, I'm gonna sit right on the edge of it, see what happens tonight. The next night I moved in a little further, more scrapes, more crunched up acorns. But maybe it's just a matter of because I did find that other camera.
Yep.
So maybe it's just a matter of.
Yeah, they could be coming from a ways away to get into that food too.
But I think too is it's this whole. I mean the woods is just it's New Hampshire. Every other tree is an oak tree.
Yeah.
So it's like they might be in that cut and they don't even really have to move.
Yeah.
Acorns are falling on their heads.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, but that's what I'm kind of doing at least for the pre-rut stuff or September, October is just going in, finding sign, and climbing a tree.
Yeah. They'll start moving around a lot more once it gets, after the 20th.
Yeah.
That seems to be a good time.
Sunday is going to be
a
good day.
Yep.
After that rain, you're going to want to be on a scrape.
They love freshening up scrapes after a rain. So,
Sunday,
especially right
Sunday
now.
Sunday will be the 22nd or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you should be in good shape. Yep.
I'm gonna go to Mass.
Give you a
Not
good
a lot
idea.
Of pressure on Sundays.
Yeah, that's when I try to hit it. It's terrible when you get good track and snow in Mass. And it's a Sunday. It's like
I just go anywhere.
So I got to go somewhere else. But, yeah. No, it's at least
should
with
be
that,
legal.
With that rainy weather too. Same thing with like the moose. They get all these freshly fallen leaves cover so much sign.
Yeah.
So you get these leaves all damp and wet and matted down, and then you get some activity that night. You can really read what those deer are doing. Because if they walk around on those fluffy leaves, it's hard to tell where the hell a deer's walked. You can't even see.
Yeah.
So you get some rain and get those leaves matted down, and then you can see what you're looking at. Yeah, you can get a really good idea where they're coming from, where they're going back to. Start to put the pieces together.
I like it though when you crest the little knob, on a beech ridge or something, and it's just everything's covered in fresh leaves, and there's just this 4-foot circle
giant
bare.
Yeah,
you're
awesome.
like, yes,
not a leaf in it.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah, I love shooting bucks over scrapes. That's my favorite time to bow hunt. Is that last week of October, first couple days of November. Man, there's nothing like it. And they respond to the calls really good then, too. You see a buck cruising, you can grunt to him. Most likely he's going to come check you out.
Yep. If he doesn't come all the way in, he's going to at least...
He's going to check you out. He's going to be curious. Because they need to know the pecking order before stuff really gets real in November, So the best is yet to come. I try to bide my time. Getting to be the middle of October like this, it's like I want to get out there and hunt some of the spots, but I know it's going to get so much better in just another 5, 6, 7 days. The first good cold snap we get, like a good frost, it's just stuff changes. Just drastic.
And you're not exactly like I'm just out looking for meat for now, and you're not really in any need for that.
No, I've got plenty of meat in the freezer right now. I think that reminds me.
Elk and a bull moose.
Yeah, I got over 200 pounds of meat with the elk, and then probably 550 with the moose.
Jeez.
Boneless meat. So yeah, that reminds me. I got to give you a big package, a bunch of moose meat.
Sweet.
So, yeah, because I just had to go buy a new chest freezer the other day, and the moose filled that chest freezer. So
hard problem to have.
Yeah, it's I hate going to the store. I refuse to buy meat at the store. So I like the meat that comes from the woods.
Yep.
It's the way to do it. So, and I got a pile of doe tags this year, so I got a feeling my friends are going to be having some venison too, because I'm going to have limited space, but I am going to shoot some does. I got, I think, 3 doe tags for Mass, and then a couple for New York.
Yeah, you're going to go over in that eastern part of the state, right?
Yeah.
Hunt with
Champa
and those guys.
Yeah, I'll go down there and have a doe day. Probably muzzleloader season.
Steve Champer. Shout out Steve Champer.
Yeah. We're going to go bear hunting with him tomorrow. Him and
Lucas.
I
want to freaking call out of work so bad.
Well, we're going to go in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So, let me know. It'd be fun. it's just a great time. Yeah, it's it's the time of the year we all wait for. This is when all the fun stuff happens.
I got 8 days as of now, and more could be added depending on overtime and stuff, but at least 8 days I can take off at random, as long as I don't have to be in a plow truck and being in the river valley,
Yeah, hopefully it rains down there and then snows where the big bucks are.
So
that'll be a perfect scenario for you.
But
we'll get some tracking days in, whether it be in Vermont, New Hampshire, Mass, one of them.
New York.
Yep.
I want to try that.
We'll go wherever there's snow, whether it be the Adirondacks, whatever. Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. November is going to be a chasing snow.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna like we talked about, as far as filming, like, those mid-November, I'm just gonna. I mean, we still hunt together, obviously, but like I'm just gonna do my own thing. We'll film when it's more likely to happen. Not to say that it doesn't happen November 18th, but you can get on one of those just lining out.
Oh, 100%.
And it's just like
you give me a post-rut buck with snow on the ground.
That makes for better footage.
He's in a lot more hot water, and I've shot a lot of them, bedded, and they're not doing crazy stuff that time of the year. Yeah. They're starting to mellow out a little bit.
You get some of these places that
it's just hard to video when you're following a deer for
can you imagine
4+ miles.
New York?
Where there's no roads,
and how low their deer population is.
Yeah,
I mean they might go 10 miles without breaking stride.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to have that in Maine.
Yeah.
There's way more deer in Maine.
Yeah. But also you can't go that far without crossing how many roads?
Oh.
You're going to have someone cut you off.
You cross 10 roads in 10 miles in Maine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just
we'll go on good days when we can, have the camera guy and the shooter and stuff. That'll be fun. And Adam from Stagger hooked me up with a pack, so I'm going to have
shout out Adam Lamson.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are awesome. I got their base. He gave me the base layers for that moose hunt, and
the pack.
And the pack, so I'm going to
mount.
I'll be putting those to use in November, man. I'm pretty excited. That'll be it's like the Jeff Doyle style video, over your left shoulder.
And then Nick was wearing a actual Jeff Doyle one.
Yeah.
With a GoPro. I still got to get that footage at some point, but
no, it'll be a fun year messing around with that stuff, because it's hard to get tracking footage of any sort, because it's hard to get someone on the same page work wise and everything that can take off whenever we get snow, and then it's just a matter of finding the right deer when you have the right conditions, and then it's everything happens really fast. A lot of the time.
People don't understand how
tracking. It's like your decision when you see that buck is you have to shoot him, or you're not going to shoot him in seconds. A lot of times, 2 seconds. You don't have a lot of time.
People don't understand how hard it is to the stuff that Tom Blaze got.
Yeah,
Well,
it's harder to video than it is shooting the deer.
I'm serious that will probably never be replicated.
Oh, absolutely. It was in a perfect time frame too. He did it when they had good tracking snow and they were in Ontario and stuff with a lot of good bucks around. It was a perfect storm of him being a phenomenal videographer, and then
also a hunter.
And a hunter. That's the key.
I don't think
you got a lot of guys who run a video camera that aren't that great of a hunter doing it.
I don't think you can do it that way.
No.
And it helps if the guy's a tracker also.
You got to be.
You
got to know what's going on. Yeah. It's there's a lot to it.
He's feeding. Press record, and that thing's not stopping record.
And
hold on. I got to change battery. I got to change. Let's not go any further.
Yeah, and Tom was doing it when they had tapes.
Yeah,
it wasn't an SD. It was a mini
VCR,
mini DV. So he's carrying this big, heavy camera. And he's got those DV tapes, and also his camera took so much longer to turn on. So it's like
Yeah, he had to prime it and choke it.
Yeah, if
know,
you weren't running if the thing wasn't on, like on standby, running all the time, it's like you have that buck jump up. You can't turn that camera on in time and start recording.
Even nowadays, it's not enough time.
It's nowhere
he jumps
near.
up and stands there.
Yeah, it's still not fast enough. But man, he pulled it off with equipment that was. I mean, it's really cool.
That dude is a freaking legend.
Yeah, just like one of the nicest guys to chat with too. So
one of those people, you watch the DVDs and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Like, do you understand what?
Yeah. Oh, it was hard.
No.
Yeah, it must have been a blast too, just having those guys in camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
hopefully we can pull off some stuff similar to that this fall. Who knows? It's all, we're at the mercy of the weather. If we get 5 or 6 good tracking days, we can probably get a good story laid out. 4 or 5. If you get the right conditions, if we get really good conditions and we get on the right buck, it's just all a matter of all the pieces coming together. That's all.
Yeah, I'd like to start acquiring footage for that. My next film I want to make. It's going to be about tracking.
Yeah.
You know the name of it, but
yeah,
I'm not going to say it on here.
No, we'll be good.
That name might get stolen because I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
But
no, it'll be cool. I'm excited to
tell a different side of it.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a fun fall. I can already tell. And I've got zero pressure. I've got plenty of meat in the freezer, so
yeah, you ain't going hungry.
we're just going to enjoy it, whether I'm running the video camera or doing the shooting. It doesn't matter.
Where are you at as far as that moose meat goes? You brought it down to somebody somewhere?
Yep, it's all cut up.
It's all done.
It's all in my new chest freezer.
Yep.
So we're all done. Yeah, it's frozen as we speak. All done.
Sweet.
I mean, I cut up just the loins. I dropped everything off down at my buddy's walk-in and everything, and he cut it all up the other day, but I dropped off everything but the loins. And I think I had 62 pounds of backstrap. Pretty crazy.
That's wild.
It's like I carried it all down into the basement, and I'm just like,
if you figure like,
holy
like
cow,
single,
that's all backstrap.
like single meals. Like if it were just you, like that's like 62 meals worth.
Yeah, just backstrap, just loin. It's crazy. So yeah, I gotta hook you and Nick up with some meat.
We got to give a shout out to that guy in what's the name of it? Groveton.
Yeah. What Corey's meat cutting or Corey's custom meats.
Yeah,
it was Corey, I believe.
Yeah,
he's super nice guy. Well,
I'll put if I
got his business card in my truck.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description. But guy was super nice.
He was like Johnny on the spot. There, we had the it was that hot weather, and he let us break the whole moose down right in his yard.
Yeah.
And, just hang it in here as long as you want. I don't know when I'm going to get to cut it. I'm like, no, I just need I need a cool place to get it, dude. It's 75, 78 degrees right now. I just need to get it out of the weather. Oh, cool. We'll just come here.
My coolers are
use
running
all
anyway.
Use all my knives, whatever. Just break the moose down and hang it in my walk-in.
Got rid of the scraps. Super nice guy. He just started too.
Yeah, we meet some good guys, so we'll give him a little shout out. So anybody over in that neck of the woods, he's a good guy to. He had a pile of animals in there when I went there to pick the stuff up. He had double the amount of animals in there when I went and picked the stuff back up 4 days later.
Really?
Yeah. So he's got people bringing him. He had so many bears hanging in there. I've never seen that many in one spot in my life. It's crazy. So he's doing good. Hopefully it works out for him.
Yeah. Well, he keeps up the customer service. It will.
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. So. Yeah, we met some good people, man. It was a good hunt, and this fall is just going to start getting better. This is getting to be my favorite time of the year for whitetails. This last week of once I get done guiding moose, then it's officially go time. We're going to be after the whitetails really hard, and it's my favorite week. Going down to New Jersey for Scrape Week, and man, New Jersey's been really good to me. So go down there, and I've got a lot of. This year I did some spring scouting, so I'm going down there with a little bit more information than normal. And I've been hunting this spot for 15 years now, so
Yeah.
It should be fun, man. It's gonna be fun. It's got a great group of guys, and there's a lot of deer down there. It's just it's a great week, so I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully get some guys on a moose this coming week, and then the whitetails will start getting stacked up. Awesome.
Sounds good, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. And
yeah, man, it's always a good time chatting about hunting. We'll be talking about more once we start tracking them around in the snow.
For sure. Yeah, we'll hopefully be able to do one of these live from camp.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Fresh buck on the game pole or back of a truck or whatever.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.